welcome to another video. It is me, Desiree, and today we are talking about a hidden gem eyeshadow palette. So I already knew this palette existed, but it never interested me to try it because I'm not a fan of Wet n Wild's new eyeshadow formula. I only like one palette. It's the one called Call Me Sunshine. Other than that, I just don't like it anymore. So when I would see this palette called Always Naked, it never interested me because I thought it was just the same formula in a different configuration with a different name. Little did I know that this palette was gonna blow my mind. And I was encouraged to get this from Emily Noel's comment section, and I want to say it was on her Wet n Wild video. She asked about this palette and a ton of comments were like, that's my go-to palette. That's the best palette, hidden gem, best Wet n Wild thing. So I thought, let me give it a shot. Worst case, it's not good, right? But this palette has consistently blown my mind. This is what I'm wearing on my eyes today. I am gonna do a demo of this at the end of the video, but I'm gonna talk about the formula, the blendability, I'll swatch all the shadows, and just kind of rave on this palette for a little while. I'm holding it like this because one of the shadows is broken and I just saw another chunk fall off. I might end up just taking out that whole shadow from there because it drives me crazy. But anyway, it's called Always Naked. This is how it looks. They have another one called Always Blushing that now that I know how good this is, I want to go get that one. I've seen this at Walgreens and at Walmart. It's like $7.99 at least. At Walgreens, I think it was $7.99. I'm sure it's a little cheaper at Walmart. But for $8, this is money well spent right here. So let's talk about it. Let's swatch it, all that good stuff. This one here, it just kind of broke out of nowhere. I'm just gonna kind of dump it out real quick. I didn't drop it or anything. It just kind of one day I went to open it and it was cracked and slowly pieces have been falling out nonstop. But here is a closer look at the color selection. You get a mix of mattes and shimmers. You also get a pressed glitter right here. And I'm gonna swatch everything except the glitter, and I will tell you why when I get there. But yeah, let's start swatching and I'll just tell you how the formula works for me and why I love it so much. So you get 9 mattes, these two, those two, this little quad, that one there, and this one has shimmer in it, but I regularly use that one as a matte and I feel like it performs just fine that way because on the finger, like pressed onto your lid as a shimmer, it doesn't really have a lot of payoff in the shimmer department. So I like to use that one as a matte, but it's not a true matte, you know what I mean? And then these 4 here, this one right here, and then that one are the shimmers with the pressed glitter right there. The assortment of mattes and shimmers, the balance between them is so perfect. And all of these shades go really well together. You could just pick 2 shades from the palette and it'll make a nice little eyeshadow duo because the tones of all of these shades, it's just so well done. And I can't believe this is Wet n Wild. Like they curated this thing, it's freaking bomb, and it's a great formula. If you are not a fan of the current eyeshadow formula from Wet n Wild, you're gonna like this one. I don't know what it is about that formula. I find it kind of stiff and dry. It doesn't blend for me. I know a lot of people really like it, but it's just not for me, which is why I didn't want to try this. This is not that formula. This is soft and buttery, pigmented and blendable. This is the formula Wet n Wild should be putting in everything, not whatever they're doing right now. This is the bomb. Okay, let's swatch already. So they feel so rich. You know what this reminds me of now that I'm swatching it? I actually haven't swatched this before other than the shimmers because I like to apply them with my finger. This reminds me a lot of, let me get it, of this from Ulta Beauty, the Everyday Faves eyeshadow palette. It feels like this formula a lot, like rich. Oh yeah, that's the same. Rich and creamy, like there's Ulta, there's Wet n Wild. Very, very creamy and rich. These Ulta palettes are really underrated as well. But this one is $20. This one here, $8. The formula, let's get back to it. I just love it so much, I want to keep getting sidetracked. I'm gonna swatch them row by row. It's smooth and rich. It's one of those formulas you want to just rub between your fingers, especially the mattes. The shade right here, this white one, it's not the best shade, obviously, like look how it swatches. It's a really nice topper of like a nice glittery thing. I have it here just on my inner corner, and that's how I've been using that one. It's very, very sparkly and white. Let's see if it's going to show up in a swatch, because I haven't swatched any of these yet, actually. There's the first row. I know it doesn't look amazing, but these show up on the eyes so well. So that's that first one there, that like matte cream. It blends right into my skin tone. That white shimmer, the other shimmer that's right next to it, and then this beautiful matte one right there at the end. That's the first row here swatched. They don't swatch amazing. They perform really, really good, and the pigmentation is lovely with this. There is one shimmer right here, this one, that did get, it has some hard pan on it, but it still swatches really nice and still builds up on my finger to put on my eyes really nicely. Just a heads up, if you are like me and you like to put your shimmers on with your finger, there's that second row swatched out right there with the two shimmers in the middle and then the two mattes here on the end. Again, the swatches might not be the most intensely pigmented things, but these colors are so pretty. I'm not gonna swatch the glitter, but I am on the third row. Dang, the mattes are so rich. Dang, they're so pretty. This shimmer right here is the one that I have on my eyes today, and I think I used this one as well. You'll see in the demo, I point out which shades I use, I already forgot. But those are the next three right there, swatched out. Those ones are super pretty. And then the last row, I'm not gonna swatch that one that's broken. It's the three darker mattes there. These are so pretty because they're not your basic brown shades. They have a little something to them. Like this one here on the end, it has almost like a gray, dark greenness to it. It reminds me a lot of a shade from the Anastasia and what the heck is her name? There's an Anastasia palette with some YouTuber that they did. I say some YouTuber because I don't think of her name, not as a disrespect. I can't think of her name. There's a shade in there, I think it's called Boys or something, and it's like a brown with a weird green undertone to it, and that's what it reminds me of. And then the other two are not typical, just basic browns. They have a really interesting undertone to them that goes so well with the palette. They look the same in swatches, but you know they perform different on the lid. But there is the palette swatched out. Let me swatch that broken one. Oh yeah, it's just like crumbling here. Let me get a little bit of it just so I could say I swatched the whole thing. This is the one that is a shimmer, but I feel like it performs more like a matte because the shimmer isn't really there. It's really, really subtle. And I have used that one all over the eye before and it looks so pretty, super smoky. I really enjoyed that one a lot. The formula is very soft, very soft. So I have pretty much just been using these two brushes with this palette, the Zoeva Luxe Crease Brush and the Morphe M514. These are two brushes I use a lot. And both of these, although the Zoeva is a little softer, it still has a little bit of stiffness to it, a little bit of a tiny bit of a pokey quality. But if you are someone who normally like digs into your shadows like this, it's gonna create kind of a mess because they're such soft shadows. They're not firmly pressed at all. So just now as I swatched them, I feel like I repressed them a little bit because all of them were kind of messed up and had tons of brush marks in them. Same thing with this one for Morphe. This is a little bit of a stiffer brush and you could easily make a mess in here if you're not careful and kind of just dipping in. Like just touching the brush in there right now, it like kicked up a lot of shadow, but it picks up a lot on the brush. They are very pigmented, like I said, not scary pigmented. Like I've been able to use all of these dark shadows as much as I want and not feel like it's out of control, dark or smoky. They're just perfectly pigmented shadows, easy to use, blendable. I think great for beginners or someone who maybe doesn't have a ton of experience blending. These shadows right here are gonna make you feel like a makeup artist. They blend so nicely. I genuinely can't say enough great things about this palette. I think from the price to the quality to the blendability, the wear time, the color selection, it's bomb. It's bomb bomb. The only shade that is throwing me off is the pressed glitter. I did attempt to use this and it is just a mess. Like trying to pick this up on the finger. It's one of those glitters that's gonna come out super patchy, really streaky, like it's just not gonna look pretty. Like look how chunky it went on just in a swatch. I did try it. It was just a mess. It ruined the eyeshadow look that I had on. I did not enjoy it whatsoever. I feel like that is kind of like, I don't know, an odd shade to put in here because every single shade is so good that it's like, oh, what a waste of a square. They could have put something else there. They could have done like, I don't know, something like really dark and rich red, like a brick brownie red, or a dark yellow, like a dark mustard. I feel like that would have been really nice in the palette, other than the glitter kind of throws me off. But that's literally the only downside of the palette, that there's a waste in here with the pressed glitter. Unless you like that kind of thing and you could get it to work for you, amazing. I can't get it to work for me. But yes, let's jump into the eye look and we'll finish up with some final thoughts. But I think I'm gonna use these four here and maybe that yellow one up there, the white one on the inner corner, and we'll just bounce around, but I'll tell you what I'm using. I'm going to start with this one right here on a little fluffy brush. This is a Zoeva Luxe Crease Brush, and I'm going to put this all over the lid. Let's get a little closer. We're all friends here, so you can look closely at my skin. I don't know what's going on with my skin. These just popped up right now when I washed my face. I have no idea. They weren't there this morning. You know, your skin is a weird thing. A big, dumb, weird thing. I do have on eye primer already, of course, the one from Morphe. The mattes don't give me any fallout, but the shimmer does, just ever so slightly. And of course, it depends on your application method. I usually am not too precious about it, especially since I'm doing eyes first. And I just like to get this color all over the lid, up in the crease, all over the place. And if you got the hooded, lots of eye skin like I do, you gotta apply it like this and then go, okay, can you see the eyeshadow? And this blends so nice. Like I can't believe Wet n Wild's had this palette the whole time and I have not tried it. Let's go with that red one right there. I love this color. Ooh. Like I was saying, they're really, really soft. Like just tapping into that one with the brush, it like picked up a ton on the brush and I had to really tap it off. So be a little gentle, especially if you're an animal with your eyeshadows. I remember Coffee Break with Danny used to say that all the time. Okay, dip in very carefully. You can see how nicely pigmented it is, how nicely it blends. Got a little crazy with this side. It's okay. It all ends up coming together. Just got to take this one a little higher now to even it out. Okay, now let me clean off this little brush. I'm going to be very gentle with this one. This is the Morphe M514. I've been using this brush for a long, long time, for a few years at this point, and I still have to look at it and go, what number is it? This is a very, very stiff, scratchy brush, so I'm going to carefully dip into these dark ones here just a little bit. Again, it like puffs up a lot of powder there. And I'm going to put this one on the outer corner. It's very nicely pigmented, blends really nice. I've also taken all of these dark ones on my whole eyelid. They all blend really nice. Doing a little smoky eye, and I really liked the way that it came out. But it's really easy because the palette is so well curated. All of these deep shades here have a little bit of like something different in them. Like they're not just straight up brown shadows. They all have a tiny bit of like a rosy, I can't really describe it, kind of color, but they go so well with all the browns. So there's that, just a little definition. And then, which shimmer do I want to use? Let's go with that one right there. None of these have names, so I don't know which one it is. It's probably shade number 12. And as you can see, the shimmer sticks really nicely on the lid. Even though it had a bunch of shadow already there, it still sticks really nice. And I'm gonna get that brush I used on the darker part, the darker outer corner, just to kind of blend around that shimmer so it doesn't look like I put it on with my finger, you know? Same thing. I think I'm gonna put a little bit more darkness on the outer corner. I'm gonna use that same one, this one right here, just very gently. Just want it a little bit more, and then to top off the shimmer just a little bit that covered up that dark shadow. Cool. I'm gonna go back with my big brush I was using just to kind of make sure everything is nicely blended, or blended to my ability. Blended nicely with the skills that I have, which are not very many. Okay, I'm going to put the rest of my makeup on and I will join you back here to finish up lower lash line, inner corner, mascara, liner, all that stuff. BRB. Okay, I put on some other things. I have brow gel drying in my eyebrows, then I will throw some more powder in to even them out. But I'm gonna get the brush I was using on the outer corner and just kind of redistribute the eyeshadow here on the inner part where a little concealer might have covered something up. Just ever so gently. Okay. Then we're gonna get a little e.l.f. Smudge brush, my little favorite here. And we're gonna get, I don't know, any one of these light colors will work. I'm just gonna go with this one right here. Just a little bit on the lower lash line. I never know how to film this part without it looking absolutely awful. So let's try maybe going up this way in the mirror. Yeah, this will work. And I am going to take it all the way across because I just like this tone a lot. And I don't know, once I add eyeliner and lower lash mascara, I just really like the way that it looks. So that's what we're gonna do. And a tiny bit of the one we used earlier, little tiny bit on the outer part, just a little bit. Just for a little something. Cool. Then we're gonna take that same brush, I'm just gonna wipe it off, and I'm gonna use that white one right there. Just a little bit. See, you can see already what I was talking about earlier. They kind of get all over each other. So this one here, because it's broken, I'm sure you might be able to see some sprinkles of this one in there, even though I didn't really do anything. It literally was just sitting flat on the desk, and then just now when I was holding it to show you. But they kind of mesh all over each other. I don't know. It's not the end of the world, but it's just like a soft formula, you know? Just a soft formula. But I'm gonna get that white one on the same brush and just kind of dab it just gently. This is what I had on earlier today. It is very sparkly and it will go everywhere very quickly, so don't overload the brush with this one. Just a little tiny bit to add a nice little pop. Love it so much. Okay. I'm gonna add some liner. I've really been loving the Ulta Automatic Eyeliner in the shade Black, Matte Black. Gonna throw this on the waterline. There's just something about black liner, and I've been loving black liner. Loving it so much. Okay, mascara. Gonna use the two right now that I've been using. The Maybelline Sky High on the lower lashes. And as much as it pains me to not use the Maybelline Sky High Burgundy on the top lashes, I have been trying out this one from L'Oreal and I'm loving it. Loving it, loving it, loving it. It's the Panorama Mascara. All right, that's enough with the mascara, but there we go. That is the completed look. I freaking love this palette. I just can't get enough of it. I think it's absolutely beautiful, blends really nicely. All the shades go really well together. Throw in a little liner, some mascara, easy peasy. I love it. There you go. So one thing I mentioned in the demo part is when you dip into the shades, they're so soft, right? They kind of go around the palette. I do give it a little bit of like a, when I'm using it, and everything will dust right off. So even though they're kind of gonna go everywhere, it doesn't stay there, it doesn't mess up the shadow. And one thing I forgot to mention, this one right here has a little bit of like a micro sparkle in it. I don't wanna say micro glitter, but it's there and you can see it on your lid. Like if you're going in with this one right here, let me try to build it up a little so you can see, maybe you can see the sparkle. It's very subtle, but it is there and you can see it when you're blending it on your eye. You'll kind of see, especially if you have especially if you put on your makeup with a light in your face or right in front of a bright window, you're gonna see some sparkle kind of like going around. Like, what the heck is that? I don't mind it. I think it's something a little different. I forgot to mention it because I don't really notice it all that much, but I did just now when I was looking at the palette in a certain lighting. So just a heads up, that one has a little bit of micro sparkle in it. I wouldn't call it micro glitter because the glitter doesn't go everywhere. I would say it's more of a micro sparkle. Just a heads up, if you're not into that, that one has it. But other than that, this palette is great. Even if I lost this one here and maybe this one here because that one broke and I don't use the glitter, those two missing, this is still an amazing, amazing $8 hidden gem palette. Let me know if you've tried this. Have you been using this all this time and I've been missing out? Also, if you've tried the one called Always Blushing, let us know in the comments. Is it just as good as this one? Because I almost want to get it. But that is it. Thank you so much for joining me for this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss my next one. And I will see you later in another video. Goodbye.